What if I told you that up to 42 million Americans expect to miss a credit card due date? Or the fact that over 14 million Americans have over $10,000 in credit card debt. Now, how is this possible if the United States has the largest economy competing with China? Aren't you and I supposed to be living our American dream with the white picket fence while working our dream job? Well, that, my friend, is quite simple. We weren't actually taught how to manage our money. This includes not knowing how to use our credit cards. So in this video, I'll be breaking down what exactly is our billing cycle and when we should be paying our credit card. That way you don't have to worry about paying interest, you can improve your credits and be financially literate. Now, after you're done watching this video, whether you have credit card debt or this is your first credit card, you will understand exactly when is the best time to pay off your credit card, and you'll be able to understand everything that's on your statement when you receive it in the mail or on your mobile phone. Now, please stick until the end because I will be giving you a gold nugget. I'll be showing you the strategy that I've used to go from 663 credit score to 742 by simply changing the way I did my payments. And yes, I had up to $13,000 of credit card debt, and that is simply because I was a broke college student. But I'm grateful for that experience because now I understand when to pay off my credit card, how to avoid paying interest, and most importantly, how to increase my credit score. Now, I did ask my friend to send me a screenshot of her credit card statement because she is working towards paying off her debt. Now, I wanted to give you a real life example because if you're someone who is struggling with getting yourself out of credit card debt, or you have no clue how much interest you're paying, this will be a great way for you to actually understand how your statements look and how you can avoid paying interest. Now, every credit card has a billing cycle. Now, the billing cycle isn't your normal or typical bills that you pay once a month, like for example, your phone bill, right? You most likely pay between the 15th or the 1st, and it's way more different because the credit card actually has 3 important dates that I want you to be mindful. Now, I want to talk to you about the statement date, which is the most important timeline because this is where you're going to be paying interest, and on top of that, when the credit bureaus are going to get the report of what you spent and what's been going on with your credit. Now, I want you to imagine that you went to the gas station to fill up your tank in your car, and by the time you get close to an empty tank, your car will always give you a record of where you've been, the locations, the stops, when you turned on and turned off, how much AC you use, all of that good information every single time your tank is empty. That is the statement day, which only happens once a month. This is when your credit card gives you all the information that has happened with your credit card, all the transactions, any activity, whether you paid off your credit card or not. Now, this can also be called the closing date. And the reason why it's closing date is because it only happens once. As you can see in her account summary, it starts from February 5th to March 4th, and March 4th is actually the closing date. That is when the statement ends. Now, anything that happens after March 4th will be recorded in the next statement. Now, as you can see in her payment information, you're going to see where it says new balance. This is just what is recorded to what you spent in that one era, which is your billing cycle from February 5th to March 4th, which is exactly where they get the amount for the minimum payment that you actually have to give. Now, I want to go ahead and talk to you about the due date. Now, this is where many people are actually very familiar with because the due date gives you the minimum that you actually have to give. Now, I do want you to remember that the due date is based on the statement you had previously. A rule of thumb is that the due date comes after 3 weeks from your statement date. Now, you may be asking, Jasmine, when do the credit card companies report to the credit bureaus? And this, my friend, is called the report date. Now, this is something that we actually don't know exactly when they actually report it because they do not put it anywhere in our statements, anywhere in the app, nowhere, right? But a rule of thumb is to always pay off everything you owe in that statement period. Now, it's somewhere between the starting to the closing date of that statement. So if you're someone that has credit card debt, like for example, my friend who has around $3,000, and you don't have that money to pay it off right away, what you're going to want to do is pay off as much as possible on your statement closing date. For my friend, her statement closing day was on the 4th. in her situation, she would want to pay off everything on the 5th. Now this can be very confusing because you still have a due date and you know exactly when this is, whether it's on the 1st, 2nd, or 3rd. You have to pay off your credit card minimum on that date. Now, if you're someone who does have the whole amount to pay off your credit card balance, please do so, because if you actually, are someone who gets yourself into credit card debt and, something happens in that meantime while you're waiting, you're not going to pay it off. So if you're someone who really has a huge amount and you have the money, just pay it off as soon as possible. Also, be mindful that every single day you're actually paying interest. Now, when they do give you the APR, whether it's 20 to 22%, that is yearly, but just be mindful that you are paying interest every single day, whether it's a very small fracture. You're paying interest on your debt every single day based on the yearly interest. Now, if you stick until the end, I'll be giving you the strategy that I've used to improve my credit drastically. Now, I do want you to be mindful that we are in different situations. So I did have credit card debt, but you might have different debts. So it might impact your credit score differently than I would mind. But I'm going to be sharing this with you only to show my experience and what has worked for me. And that is to do exactly what I've told you before, which is paying the minimum on the due date. Now, using my friend's example, if your closing date is on the 4th, what I would do is basically pay off the minimum on the 1st, and on the 3rd, I basically paid as much as possible because I know that that is the last date that will be through my statement balance. So the most important date would be the last day of your statement. If you can pay off way sooner, then that it would extremely work for you. But I do want you to be mindful that the due date is not based on today's balance. It's based on the balance 3 weeks ago. But what has helped me, because I was in $13,000 in debt when I first got my first credit card, I got myself into $8,000, and then I opened another one, which is not what you should do if you have a credit card debt. But I was someone that did not know anything about credit card. I was working a minimum wage job, so I really didn't understand exactly the effects and the impact it would have on my financial situation when I kept myself getting more and more into debt, because I kept telling myself, you'll pay it off, but I never did, to the point where I said, no more, I'm paying it off. I do not like this thing over my head telling me to pay 22% interest while inflation keeps going up. Be mindful that what is important is your statement date. That is what many people get confused with their credit card statements, because they don't understand that the due date is a reflection of what they spent 3 weeks ago, not what they spent yesterday or the day before. That would be a new statement. Now, I understand that many things can happen, whether you lost your job or you have family members that need your help, but please, if you need money, don't use your credit card. Go get yourself a second job, whether that is working for Uber or going and helping someone with their side hustle. It's not worth paying so much interest when inflation itself is at 7%. I'd rather you wait for that purchase and go and work a little bit extra. I promise it's way more worth it to actually work for the money than to get someone else's money and not be able to pay it off, and you get yourself into debt. But with that, please don't forget that you are enough, and this mistake will be erased once you overcome. Now, if I did bring you any value, I would be extremely grateful if you subscribe and hit the like button, and always remember, be someone that makes you happy.